Welcome to Beyond Beauty, the Professional Beauty Association's podcast, where we take a deeper look into the minds and hearts of the amazing professionals who make up this professional beauty industry. I am your host, Leslie Perry. With me today, Kelly Westbrook from My Salon Suite. So excited that we are able to make this work and have a conversation.
I'm excited to be here as well, Leslie. Thanks for having me. It's exciting.
So you've been in the industry just for like a minute.
I recently changed it from the actual number of years to over 3 decades. I think there's something to be said in that.
Wisdom and experience. That is what it is. But for those who might not be familiar, like what drew you to professional beauty? And you have a varied background too. I mean, from distribution to others to this to that. Now My Salon Suite, and a special heart for the licensed professionals who work in salon every single day. But why professional beauty?
It's a great question. I knew at 7 years old that I wanted to be a hairdresser because a hairdresser changed my life. I was getting ready for a big event that happens within our family at 7 years old, my communion. And my mom brought me to the salon for the first time to actually get something other than a haircut. And I walked out feeling beautiful. I remember the feeling in my gut, as old as I am now compared to then. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So once I started receiving brochures when I was about 13 years old that my high school had a vocational school, including cosmetology, I was infatuated. I couldn't wait. And 16 couldn't come fast enough. So it was at that point, my last 2 years of high school, I joined. Spent many years of my career behind the chair. I am from Long Island, so I had some great salons in the Long Island market that I got to work with. And I was really influenced by many great hairdressers in the industry, but early found that I was more attracted to the sales consultants and the educators that were part of my day-to-day. So I stayed in the salon part-time, and I decided to get into sales and education, which was my journey. For a very good portion of my career, I spent with some of the iconic brands that are still out today. I ran distributorships. I had great sales teams and education teams, trained the trainer. And then after sales and distribution, I went into the world of cosmetology schools, ran 3 schools, and had an incredible team and many graduates that went through my tenure there. But I always had a love for coaching and our industry and protecting our industry. And it was a great space for me at My Salon Suite to get involved with independent business owners, since I was always working with salon and spa owners. It was just a natural shift. So I've been a member of the PBA for most of my career. And every organization I've worked with, I've brought PBA with me. So we're always in this for the same reasons, to elevate our industry and to maximize our career path potential. So I'm locked in, and I'm a lifer, if you will.
Well, and I love it because your career journey is what we talk about so much with our Beacon students and our Beacon program, about the license that you get if you choose to go that path really unlocks incredible potential for a career, a lifelong career, not just working behind the chair. I mean, so many opportunities that exist.
Absolutely. And that's it. I can say if anyone told me when I was sitting in the classroom what my options were going to be in the beauty industry, I don't know if I would have believed them, because I only knew this much. To no fault of anyone's, just you didn't think to talk about anything outside of the technical and the theory at that time. And that's many years ago. Schools have gotten so much better. But even people that know me really well are like, wait a minute, what? You're a dean of 3 schools? Like, nobody would have ever expected it. But I always told every class when I started, and anybody I get to speak with, is that one piece of paper, my cosmetology license, is what allowed me all of these opportunities. And then my resume took it from there, being a beauty industry professional. So I'm very proud of it. And it is, I think this is the year that we really want everyone to know what those opportunities are.
100%. And what for you has been the keys to your success? Like, I always like to ask, like, what would Kelly today tell Kelly 30 years ago, 3 decades ago?
Always say yes. Um, every opportunity that presents itself. I mean, I can share that I've been backstage as a teenager, skirt wrapped around my neck, dunking doll heads into a garbage pail so we can rinse out color for a hands-on class. I've been asked to show up at 4 a.m. to help the artist that's going to be on stage because nobody else is scheduled until 7. Volunteer for any opportunity in the industry. As you know, if somebody is asking me to share knowledge or to learn, I will show up. I would say if I could have told myself early on that every opportunity is a learning opportunity, then I would have said more yeses. But just say yes is my motto. It's been that way, and it's awarded me most of these opportunities.
You know, one of my previous leaders in another life told me that exact same thing. And he said, you'll go so far. Just don't be afraid to say yes. Say yes. And sometimes yes might scare the crap out of you.
It's true. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've had butterflies in my stomach. But then another mentor had shared with me, the day you don't have butterflies when you're approaching something new is the day you need to say, I've lost the passion. Either I need to rekindle it or I need to find something new. And I do live by that. I'm okay with standing in front of an audience or
having the little energy butterflies. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that just means I'm human like the rest of us, right? So it's still learning. I mean, I'm still learning myself. I'm still curious is what those butterflies tell me.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Well, and now in your current role, you know, it's kind of bringing everything to bear and like focus on education. And I know one thing that we wanted to get into today is a topic that strikes fear in many of our licensed professionals in the industry. And that's the idea of raising prices.
Yes.
And I remember when I had my business and was raising prices and that, you know, I would like update the website or update the menu and like you hold your breath a little and hit save. You're like, oh my God.
It's so true. Anything new you approach, I think like Red. So in order to grow, you need to go where you're uncomfortable. And going up where you're uncomfortable means you're learning, and fear is normal, but there are ways to remove the fear and empower. And that's kind of the voice I like to lead with in any coaching I do, or even a conversation that you and I might have about something new we're approaching. Price increase scares everybody. And I have some thoughts on why that happens, but I feel that I have some good tools that are really simple that can help get everybody over that fear too.
I mean, one thing, and I talked about this at one of our events recently, is this pricing for us in this industry is emotional. There's still like, it's deeply emotional because we have a relationship with our clients that's unlike a relationship most businesses have with a customer or in that kind of relationship. And so how do you, I mean, it's easy to say, well, you just remove the emotion, but I mean, what are some of your top tips, advice when someone is approaching this concept of, I know I need to raise my price, or if I don't even know if I should raise my, I guess, where do we start?
It's the truth. So there are, I mean, I have notes so I don't forget, because I do think that there's some really key steps that have to be taken first before you go this way. So it's not just, I'm going to raise my prices tomorrow, or I'm going to raise my prices because other prices of things that I pay for went up. You know, that's not how or why we raise prices in a service industry. We raise prices in a service industry because we're delighting every client, we're educating ourselves, and we're moving forward in our career that brings the best experience and look of a lifetime to our client. So it's not about the actual products or my expenses. It's about my worth. So first and foremost, our industry, as emotional as we are, we don't necessarily put forward what we should be pricing all the time. We put forward, would I be willing to pay that price?
Yes.
Right. So
that resonates deeply with me because I did that.
Exactly. Because, you know, respectfully, if you're in a service industry, no matter what your specialty is, we tend to reciprocate one another by giving each other services at no cost. One of the first things that we learn, especially when we get that certain point in our schooling, is now we can buy professional products at wholesale pricing. Well, that's set up so businesses can run profitably. That's not set up only because I get a discount because I'm a professional. So the first thing we do is we start buying all of our retail products and professional products that we put in our own bathrooms or in our own carrying case at wholesale. We never even believe to pay $15, $20, $35 for that anymore. If we're talking skincare, we're talking hundreds of dollars for one product. So right there, we lose sight. And so does our family and our friends, because we tend to pass that off to them. Oh, I'm going to the store. I could pick it up for you. But then our services as well. Now, there's many of us who have gotten really, really good at taking the time and going and get services for ourselves. But as you know, coming from a family of it, and me as a professional, I get antsy. Like, I can't sit. I'm one of those people that, but when can I sit? When I go get my lashes done, or when I go get a massage, or when I go get my nails done. Services I don't perform, I thoroughly enjoy, but when it's services I perform, I'm like, I gotta get up, right? ADHD kicks in. So painting that picture for 1 second, Leslie, we tend to lose our worth in there. And it's not in, I don't say this in a negative sense. I say it as we don't see ourselves like our clients see us. So when it was a long period of time that I was a freelance and I did nails. I had a segment in my life of moms that were stay at home that couldn't leave. And I found a little way to make some money doing that. And we're talking a long time ago. And when I increased my prices after being like, my stomach was sick, I felt like I had a virus. I was so nervous. Everything I heard from, I was about 12 clients at the time, but they kept me very busy, was it's about time. It's about time. It's about time you raise your prices. So that I realized many years ago, I'm doing this to myself. So first and foremost, know your worth. What education did you go to last year? Have you been talking about it with your clients? That is so important. I just learned this great new trend. I just learned about this new product. I just learned about this new service. Let me tell you about it. Oh, how do I know? I just spent a weekend at Premier Orlando, or I just went to a 2-day conference on learning this new technique. That is what increases your value and how your client feels when they leave. They get cucumber water, or do they get a bottle of water handed to them uncracked, right? That makes the difference in elevating. So first and foremost is about the worth, I think. I don't know if you have anything to share about that, but to me, it's getting your worth in check. You are worth it.
No, I think that's huge, because I'm just speaking from my own experience. It resonated when you said, well, I would never pay that. And I used to tell my sister, she's a hairdresser, and I did makeup and we did bridal parties together. But I would tell him, like, oh my God, I would never pay that for makeup. She's like, yeah, but you're not your customer. And they don't know, they don't have your skills, and they value what you bring. And it was like that reprogramming your brain around what I pay, and no, they want to pay that because they value. Yeah. It's like, you have to value yourself. We have to forget and not overinflate either, right? Like, there's
yeah. Well, and I have some tips on that too, because there is a process to go through. But you're 100% correct. It's our industry is the only. Well, I'm not going to say the only industry, because I don't want to be dramatic. But realistically, if you are a licensed professional of a specialty and your household does not have a line item on your family budget for it, it's that simple. Unless you're a business owner, which is a separate conversation. But my household doesn't, because it's myself and my stepdaughter are both hairdressers. So nobody in our household has a budget for it. Whereas, well, I took a different approach. I pay my stepdaughter for everything she gives me, but I wouldn't have thought about that 30 years ago when I started. I never charged my parents. Now, there's a whole level there that you have to deal with. But remember, every one of your clients, new and existing, budget in their household for personal care services. You are part of that budget. We need to get our heads out of their wallets. Right?
Oh, and get your head out of their wallet. That's key number one.
Because we do it to ourselves. But I would always say, if I'm in a coaching session, this is the point, and it's usually about a 30-minute conversation now that I've gotten you to the point that you realize, oh my gosh, right? Because I'm all about charge what you're worth and then add tax, right? Like you need to make sure, but you have to get yourself there step by step. So if you are that person like me, like Leslie, that were uncomfortable and
Yes.
really fearful, forgive yourself for feeling that way. Put it aside. Now let's talk business and how you get there comfortably, and then you could duplicate it year after year after year. So, I mean, the next thing that you really need to do is look at what your expenses are. Now, I'm talking business expenses, whether you work for someone in a commission salon, whether you are the salon owner or you work for yourself in an independent space of mobile, freelance, whatever you're independent, you're working for yourself, no employees. You need to see what your expenses are. And first, make sure your current pricing aligns with it. So now that you know how to get over the fear, and you can work on that a little bit, and you really need to look at what does it cost for me to be doing business today. If you are an employee, you still buy your tools, you know, and you're a commission base. So you may have a level system at your salon. You need to go from point A to point B, and then you charge this much. Point C, you go here. And that is a great tool. You're going to have that conversation with the business owner on, how do I get here? Okay, you have different goals you need to hit before you get there, but you still want to think like it's your business. Because when you get that raise from level 1 to level 2, you need to communicate it. I've been moved from, you know, level 1 to level 2, star 1 to star 2. Here's why. Here's what I've done in the last year. Thanks to people like you, I'm able to grow. Can't wait for you to keep growing with me. Like, that's the conversation you have, not nail biting and running from the desk and leaving it up to the desk, right? So when you understand your expenses, you want to make sure you look at everything and that the pricing that you have today is actually in line with what your expenses are. This may require you to price correct a little bit. You may look at your menu, look at the revenue you're bringing in, look at your expenses and say, you know, the average cost of this service in my county, in my town, in my environment here is about 20% less than everybody else. So you may need to course correct your pricing. So let's say all of that is done. Now you get to the actual strategy of your pricing, right? Now you've really got a deep dive. Here's my menu. And if it's online or on paper, it doesn't matter to me. I always recommend having printed menus in the salon because it makes conversations go so much better and consultations go so much better. So once you get yourself to that point, you have a menu in front of you. This is a constant journey. This isn't a quick fix. What you're going to look at is, do we do all the services that are on this menu? Does the salon staff, do I like all the services on this menu? So if you have like 4 standard services that you'll do if somebody asks, but it's really not your specialty, do yourself a favor, give yourself the gift and remove it from the menu and have more meaningful items on there that actually generate revenue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
You know, if you have a bang trim or fringe trim, if you have, you know, certain services, I'll leave them unmentioned. You know, certain things that you do that are tried and true that have always been there. If you have a good customer that asks you during a service or next time I come in, can you? And it's like no effort, then you know what? They're a good client. Take care of it. Don't feel like you need to have a la carte on every single service the beauty industry has to offer. Once you get yourself there, the recommendation is always do a percentage price increase across the board. I share this with many years of experience. I've walked many salon and spas and independents through this exercise, and $1 here, $2 there, $5 there. Now, if you have to price correct, yeah, you need to do that. And that might be enough to where, okay, that's enough for 2025. 2026 now, you can do a percentage increase across the board because you got everything aligned properly and cleaned it up, if that makes sense. But doing it a la carte makes it more difficult to have the conversation first and foremost. If you do, let's just say a 3% price increase across the board, it's relevant to each dollar amount. So your higher price point is 3%, your lower price point. So it balances itself out beautifully. I don't know what your experiences is with that, Leslie, but I think that's an easier way.
I don't think that's with that scientific of an approach back when I did more dollar. I think I did what you said not to do, which was a la carte, and it makes it complicated. And then it was, okay, for bridal makeup, it's this, but for this, it's that. And it makes you think, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? This is too hard. So then you think about it and don't do it and realize, but at the same time, it makes
all your fear is building up while you're going through that exercise.
And then it makes it worse because it feels complicated when you've overcomplicated it, and you don't have to overcomplicate things necessarily.
Exactly. So if you go in and you realize, everything's a little out of whack here, you do a little research, you realize I need to price correct. That's all you do for the year. You create a new menu. This is why I say have them like physical, even if you just do 25 printed, you have them and you could just say, hey, everybody, I just want to let you know, these are our price increases as of May 1st. I mean, it's really that simple. We've made some adjustments, but if it's a overall price increase strategy, depending on your business and the last time you did it, the recommendation, now this isn't just mine, this is me doing a lot of research through the years, is anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Put yourself on a schedule, whether it's 12 or 18 months. This is going to be what you're comfortable with because you know your client base and your business is when you increase your prices, whether it's 2%, 3%, 5%. It's going to be your market and your services that are going to dictate really what makes sense. But put yourself on that schedule to where your clients know every May of the year, you're going to have a slight price increase. Every 18 months, that's a year and a half, you're going to have a price increase. That kind of rotates through a little bit. But those things just make it easier for clients to accept and a heck of a lot easier for you to accept when you know, because then as every year progresses, you just get better and better. You're not posting a sign that says due to rising costs. Well, every business has rising costs every year. I'm not discounting that. I respect it 100%. But it's about you and your team and the education and the services they provide, the happy clients that leave every day. That's where your price increases are going to come from. So what does that make sense, the way that we look at it? All right,
yeah, no, it totally makes sense. That was one of my questions, is how often do you set it? Do you every year, not every year? And I know we could talk about this forever, and we have a short limited time, but you do have, because I'm looking at it too, a beautiful 10-point document on how to raise prices that we can make available, if that's okay, to our PBA members. And we will put that in our member portal, but we can have follow-up conversation. So before, I don't want to cut us super short, but in the essence of time, what's the last thing that you want to leave with today? And then I think this is kind of a cliffhanger, and we're going to have to do a part 2. We have to do a part 2 episode.
Yeah. I whatever you need to help make everybody successful in removing the fear, that if we can,
I think that's the biggest thing is how do I, because once you get rid of that fear, and I know as I was more sophisticated in running a business, the fear went away, and I would raise the prices because I was doing it more according to how fast I was booked out and how far I was booked out and what I knew I was worth and the market, what the market would bear. Right. And then I had to get comfortable with someone saying that's not in my budget, and me saying that's okay, and let them go, and not, well, I'll give you can't discount anymore either. Right. You have to be okay to say, then that isn't my client anymore. And someone, I know that just opened a whole can of worms.
You did. So you're asking me what I was going to share as the ending point. So first off, the download you're going to give, we actually have dialogue for 3 different types of clients, 3 different objectives. So when you send out this document and make it available, there's a link to click for scripting.
Okay.
It's fun scripting, but you'll all resonate with the client. So here's what I'll leave you with. When it comes to recognizing where you are today, here's the numbers you want to think about. It's going to cover your point. How many clients do you have right now? How often are they coming in? These are 2 things that you want to know, because that's going to give you a good understanding of your base of clients that you're dealing with. How many visits, like how often do they come in? How many services are you giving them? Right? 1, 2, 3. And then last, how many discounts are you giving in a year? So that's one piece of it. That's, you got to recognize where you are. Second is confront the fear of loss. So when you have a price increase, you're going to have these clients that are like, I can't afford it. Well, have a backup plan. Well, if you're not able, if you're a salon that has levels, if you're not able to see me today, I absolutely understand. The next visit we can book with Sue, who is at level 1 with a different pricing. You're still in our salon. If it's somebody and you're an independent, you can refer them to somebody else that has a lower price point. At least have an option for them. When you increase the price, you also increase the experience a little. Like I said, are you giving them bottled water and they're opening it themselves? Or are you putting it into a glass? Are you adding cucumber? Does it smell amazing when they walk in? Like, you have to change these little elements that don't cost you anything, but who in their right mind is going to pay the same amount for the same service? Like, you have to elevate something, you know, a little extra massage towards the end of the wash. But don't be afraid of losing clients, because when you lose a client or two, you're going to gain new clients, especially if there's a demand. You're going to gain new clients at the new price point, and that's where they start. So that's why every 12 to 18 months, they're going to grow with you. So you'll have a balance of older and new clients coming in at different price points, and that sets you up to win. But when it comes to those discounts, look at that client list and how many of them are friends and family who get a discount. They get a raise, they get a increase as well. So if friend Sue from the PBA or cousin Joey, who's been coming to me since we're teenagers, are getting a discounted price, their price goes up too. So if they pay $50 for a haircut, $55. If they pay $120 for a full foil, $130. Don't leave out your friend and family pricing. They have to be increased as well.
Awesome.
Hence why
and that's why we need part 2, maybe part 3. I don't know. It's just a lot to talk about, and it is something to be confronted in the industry and just talk to and help, because you see it frequently. You know, I see it even, again, my sister's still a hairdresser when she talks about it too, and that it's just something that the more you know, the more confident you feel, and the more you can execute and continue to have a thriving career. So thank you.
Wow.
You're going to put more information about the download and how to get access to that. And then stay tuned through this year when we bring Kelly back for part 2 and maybe part 3.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
It was so great to see you, Kelly. And I look forward to seeing you in real life at one of the shows coming up in 2025.
Always available. You too.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Bye.
Bye.